Good afternoon, everyone. Again, welcome back to another episode of the Debt Life with me, Chad Van Horn. Today, we're going to talk about tax tips for this tax season. I have two great guests today, Michael Sullivan and Herb Cantor, which are former IRS agents, and they're going to go through all the tips and tricks that you ever wanted to know. So let's see if I can get them on video here because I know they're here. Let's turn that on. Hey, look at that! It worked. Hey, gentlemen.
How you doing? Good. Glad to be back, Chad. Glad to be back. Let me kind of get in the frame. I'm a little bigger than Herb, so I got to kind of fit in and lean in. We've all had our vaccine because we're so old. So they didn't want us to die first, so they gave us the vaccines right away, just so you know.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, thank you for joining us again. You're one of our favorite guests, and you've been on, I think, 2 or 3 times. This is the first time we actually get to see your face, though. And Herb, it's been great speaking with you. I look forward to hearing from you guys today. So let's just go through a little history about each of you. Herb, let's start with you this time.
Hi, everyone. My name's Herb Cantor. I retired last year from the IRS. I worked for 40 years at the IRS in South Florida, started in Miami, ended up in Plantation. I worked 6 years in the small business division, 15 years in the large case division, and 18 years in the appeals division. And I settled a lot of cases before they went to the U.S. tax court. I am a CPA, a chartered global management accountant. I do have my master's degree, all from the University of Miami.
And I hear you work on some small businesses too. You were telling me that you were auditing a company that had billions of dollars worth of revenue.
The last company I worked on in the large case division of the IRS had 20 billion of sales. It's a company in the Broward Palm Beach area. I will not name the company, but it became very overwhelming looking at a tax return that large. Also, I did audit very small corporations when I first started, Schedule Cs, small corporation, dental practices. I did audit attorneys also. But no bankruptcy attorney. These were all personal injury attorneys.
Well, because they make the real money.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. All right. And Michael, to you.
Yeah, just real quick. I've been doing tax resolution for a long time. I started in IRS back in 1973. I was with the service for 10 years, and a bunch of my buddies used to call me and say, hey, how do you get out of this? How do you get out of this? So they encouraged me to just start my own practice, people just like you, good friends of mine. So I went into IRS tax resolution, and we specialized in debt settlement. If you haven't filed tax returns, getting people really out of any tax problem. And I get, we refer our cases back and forth. We have like kinds of values on cases, and we like to give people good, solid results. And for the years, I've always enjoyed working with your whole firm, not just you, Chad. You got a really class active people. They always follow up. They're very thorough. And one of the things I know when I refer you people, they always say, hey, that guy billed me fairly. So you're a gold standard of my referrals going out to, or I wouldn't refer to you. So congratulations for that too.
Well, thank you, Michael. That means a lot. I'm going to come back on the screen here on the big screen. We're going to jump right in it. Hi, Kimberly. If you have any questions, I see that we already have some viewers up. Feel free to type them in. Also, you can email the phone numbers below, or if you need to set an appointment, you can do that. And we're certainly and we're going to do different viewpoints here because obviously I see people in a different time than you guys have in your IRS career or what you're doing now. What are some careless mistakes that you've seen people make when filing their taxes?
Oh, you asked for that.
People not having enough documentation to substantiate what the expenses they claimed on the tax return, people omitting W-2s, Form 1099s from banks, even from their employer.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what IRS has done, just for those listening. A lot of people don't like to sometimes report a 1099. They've got their withholding out. So we say, yeah, we're just going to forget this 1099. We got about 6,000. And, maybe this is going to slip by. Well, IRS has what's called a matching program, and they don't match to about 18 months later. And they do match up W-2s and 1099s, and then you get smacked with the penalties. And a lot of people conveniently forget about that, but IRS doesn't. And with their computer sophistication, they match up about 60% now. They've collected last year $12 billion in matching programs. It's a big revenue source for them. It's a big ROI for them. So you can expect in the future, IRS is going to be up to about 95% of matches for W-2s, everything. So you gotta make sure you put them all down.
Well, and I see two things in my practice, and some of the times I have to end up referring them to you for this reason. And I want comments from both of you if you can. First, I see some people that go to a tax preparer that the only goal is to maximize the return. So whether that means taking your dogs as dependents and just filing single if you're married, just basically, I think there's a computer program and it just shows how you can get more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, I can't file the person's bankruptcy because obviously there's some sort of fraud going on here. And some of my clients unknowingly or they don't want to know, they just want the maximum refund, and they rely on these people, these tax preparers to make sure they get the maximum refund. If something like that happens, and from the IRS standpoint, and then from where you're current, how would the IRS look at that, and then how would you deal with fixing that?
Well, you can answer.
Yeah. So people want a big refund, and they want their refund done cheaply. So my father told me, and your father told you, you get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. So if you want to make sure you can sleep night and get a maximum refund and pay $200, $300, $400 to sleep, you see a tax professional. Other than that, it's really a crapshoot. Now, I will tell you this: if you have a simple W-2, there's no need to go to a professional. You could just go get IRS free file yourself. Yep. Once you get past a simple W-2 and you have a Schedule C, that's really when you seek the help on that. So everyone doesn't have to come running to people. It's just in that circumstance.
Yeah, and I was one of those people that, back when I had a simple W-2, I didn't have a law firm, I didn't have anything. Right. I would just use TurboTax or one of the online ones.
Yeah, that's all they do.
And especially in Florida, we don't have state income tax, so you just have one return.
Yeah.
And the other one and I never understood this one because of what you said before. I know that the IRS has all the data, so they have the 1099s, they have the W-2s. I have clients that come in that have income for the last 10 years and haven't filed tax returns for 10 years. Yeah. When does the IRS wake up and say, hey, I know that you're making money and you're not filing tax returns, and what do you guys do to deal with that once they have that tax liability?
So IRS it's called their K2 computer, CADE2 computer only holds so much data on it. And IRS has a series of algorithms on their computers when they know they have money. So if there's 240 million taxpayers in the United States, or whatever that number, a lot of times they take the low-lying fruit. And there's many taxpayers that just slip through the cracks. Those are lucky. But at some point in time, if you want to buy a house, you want financing, you're going to have to file tax. When you want to be a big boy and you got to put big boy pants on, you're going to have to file. People are afraid to get back in the system. But IRS has a policy statement, 5-133, that says if you want to get back in the system, we'll only require the last 6 years worth of tax returns. But many times, if it's a non-asset case, we'll only file your last 3 returns, get you back in the system, smooth sailing, and you don't have to worry. These people who we are talking about right now, they're getting real nervous because they hear all the commercials for TurboTax. They know they should be filed, so they're having that little guilt trip going on inside of them. I guarantee you. Anything, Herb?
Yeah, I'll go even one step further, maybe off on a little tangent. I do recommend, and even when I worked at the IRS for 40 years, and I always tell people, if you're getting audited by the IRS, you need to hire professional representation. Don't go in yourself. As I tell people, and I used to tell people when I worked at the IRS that owed a lot of money, well into the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, that want to declare bankruptcy, and they tell me they're going to do it on their own.
Oh, geez.
And I'll tell you, don't do it on your own. Do not go before the IRS on your own, and don't try to do a bankruptcy on your own, because you're going to make mistakes that are going to screw up the bankruptcy. I've heard enough horror stories where I tell people, look, you can probably wipe out your income taxes if you time it correctly and if you filed all your tax returns. But you need to speak to a bankruptcy attorney to make sure you do everything correctly.
Chad, let me ask you this. How many years have to be, I'm asking you a question about how many years do they have to file to discharge? Isn't there a 3-year rule?
Yeah, so we actually have to provide the court with 3 years worth of tax returns, and there has to be 3 filing years old to be dischargeable, and it can't be trust fund taxes or anything like that. It has to be income taxes.
Right.
And there can't be fraud, and there's some other rules that go into that as well. Herb, you actually brought up something, the A word that scares a lot of people, audit. What are there a couple red flags that when you're filing your tax returns that the IRS is like, all right, you have a better chance of being audited? Because from what I understand, the IRS can't just audit everybody. You don't have they didn't have the manpower to do that. So are there some red flags?
Yeah, that is correct. The IRS does not have the manpower to audit everybody. Many audits are done by correspondence from the IRS Service Center, where you forget to include a 1099 from a bank interest, bank dividend, stock sale. That includes many audits. People not filing tax returns constitutes a audit. But I tell people, always file a tax return. Even if you don't have the money, don't worry about it. Just file the tax return and you'll cut down on your possible penalties.
Yeah, just so you know, Chad, 1.4 million audits are done by mail correspondence. 350,000 audits are done either by an office audit or a revenue agent. Just why you get audited is IRS has what's called the DIF score, DIF. It's discriminatory index function score. And when they match up your adjusted gross income or your gross income, and they look at all the categories of deductions, you must fall into what's called the national standard. There's an algorithm that they run, and they give you points every time you're outside that algorithm. So if you add up to a number of points, then at that point in time, IRS is that suspect. They take all these suspect returns, they bring them to the service center, and someone like Herb would go to the service center, they would eyeball the returns and said, these are the ones we want to target. So as long as you fall in within the national standards, you'll be okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. We have a couple questions I want to jump into. From Laverne, I owe the IRS money. Are they able to garnish wages?
Yes, and they will. Matter of fact, they'll do 3 things they'll do. It's over $10,000. Once they ask you for the money and you can't pay, they will file a federal tax lien. They'll take all the money out of your bank account, and they'll take a good percentage on your wages. The thing about wage levies from the IRS, they're continuous unless you fix the problem. So a simple call to the IRS can buy you more time. You give them a financial statement, and they'll either put you in hardship, payment agreement, or you can file an offer and take care of it, usually within 30 days.
And actually I've had appointments this morning where those garnishments go into place, and bankruptcy is one of the only things that can stop garnishment, other than what you said as well. So if they're taking 15% or up to 25%, it's hard for some people to make ends meet. So if I received Jonathan, if I received a stimulus check, will it be deducted from my tax return?
No.
Well, that's simple. Well, and I know a lot of people are still waiting for their stimulus checks. Hopefully that can come out.
And by the way, I want to just mention that IRS sends out credit cards for stimulus checks. I got one in the mail, and it looked like bad advertising. It really did. I actually threw the envelope and the card out.
Oh, wow.
Somebody put up a blog on my Facebook site that's, hey, IRS is sending your refund out in a credit card check. It's got look like a little American flag on it. It says, I went through my garbage and damn, if that day it was in my garbage because it looked like a third-party file. I opened it up. It's the crappiest little credit card. It had like $1,800 on it. So they do send them out by credit card, so be careful.
All right. Well, that's helpful information as well. Here's one I see a lot of as well. Tatiana just got out of college and she claims herself on her taxes, but her parents are also claiming her. Does that cause an issue?
Well, only one person. I mean, depends on the age. I'll assume if you just got out of college, you're probably 21, 22, 23 years old. Yep. It'd probably be depending on who's making more money, but it's probably better to let the parents claim the dependency exemption. You'll still have to file a tax return. You might be eligible for some education credits. I don't know if you were able to claim any. I don't know. That's something I only see once every so often, but there are education credits. There's a HOPE credit. There's a couple of other education credits you could be entitled to. I don't know.
And most people who do this just file a return and they're not even aware these credits are available and they can make more money. That's why you got to be careful and give your return to a professional.
For sure. And here's an issue I see a lot in bankruptcy. What are the biggest mistakes about home office deductions? So
not having a home. No.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand from a bankruptcy standpoint, when you claim that home office, and obviously in every bankruptcy we provide the tax returns, you're actually giving up part of your homestead exemption in Florida if you're claiming it as a business expense. And in bankruptcy, they'll take the square footage of your office, and that part is non-exempt. Which means you have to pay or turn over an amount to the creditors in a bankruptcy scenario. So you got to be very, very careful with that. But from an IRS standpoint, what have you guys seen?
Well, you have to have a home office where your employer probably does not give you an office, so you have to use your home, and you need substantiation for whatever deductions you claim. It's pretty simple, but I would say a lot of people don't have the proper substantiation documentation to show how they arrived at the amount shown on your tax return.
Well, let me bring this case up to Herb. I'm glad you asked that. So I'm going to put Herb on the spot. Many people now who work for companies now have had to have offices in the home because of the COVID-19. So based on these unique circumstances, has anything changed in the office? Should I just type my question up so you can see everybody? No, but that's a very valid question. My company said I'm to work at home now. So I ask you, what are you going to do in that situation? Because it's real this year.
Well, I think it comes down to it. And if you have a mortgage payment of $2,000 a month and you have a 2,000 square foot house, wouldn't the office rent, if you will, that you can offset, if it's a 200 square foot office that you're using in your home, that you could write that off, I would assume. And you guys are obviously the IRS experts.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
Yeah. Generally speaking, yeah, you can write off whatever the square footage of your office compared to the entire house. So, but I've seen people claim like 80% of their house. And that includes their kitchen where they watch TV.
No,
people know it really needs to be. It's supposed to be a room.
Yeah, I brought one person in and they says, yeah, well, I had the room, but then I had to keep my stacks in the refrigerator. So it had to include the refrigerator. And then I had to go to the pool every now and then, in that little 5 or 10% grew in the 50. They thought everywhere they had a footprint. Well, I have to walk across to get to my bathroom in the master bedroom. So all of a sudden, you got to be reasonable.
Yeah.
They say, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be a hog.
For sure. Yeah. So you can't take your bathroom, the kitchen as break areas.
Yeah. And the pool.
You can try.
And of course the pool. Of course.
Yeah, of course the pool.
All right, so I got another question here that I'll throw up on the screen. Which creditors can intercept a tax return?
You mean a tax refund? I'm sure they.
That's what that is. Yeah, tax
Yeah,
refund.
a tax
Yep, sorry.
refund. IRS certainly can do that. IRS has a TC 130 freeze on your. If you owe tax dollars, you're not going to get it back. But if you come to a crafty tax professional, how you adjust that? You change your withholding. So you don't have a refund coming back, and guess what? You'll never have that problem again, and you control that. How about for you, Chad? It's like student debt or divorce. What happens in those cases that you've run into?
Yeah, the biggest one that we see is federal student loans. So there's a federal student loan offset. There's actually a phone number. I think it's 800-304-3107 that you can call that number and see if there's an active offset.
Wow, that's
And it's
cool.
an automated. You dial you put in your social security number and it'll tell you whether there's an offset.
Wow.
So I always tell people if you owe money to anybody and it's in default, call that number just to make sure, and then
Wow.
give one of us a call, and then we'll figure out who you owe the money to and how we can get that
There
fixed.
you go.
I also tell a lot of my clients too, and I know people love their tax refund. They use it as a savings account. I'm one of those people where I don't get a tax refund. I like to pay exactly what I owe, and then I have control of the money moving forward. And if I want to put it in investments, put it in, even if you're getting interest on it, it's better than basically letting the United States government borrow money from you interest free.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yeah, Chad, you and I were discussing that. For those of you who hear us and understand this, the biggest mistake that people make with their tax refund is they know they're going to get it and they've eyed their next purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Just be real careful about that. The next thing you may want to consider is actually putting it in a savings account. Unfortunately, in today's economy and how things work, everyone eyes the next new thing, and whatever you want to do, you don't want to put it down on something and then create more financing. So maybe for one of the times you learn really prudent savings and put the money away, because you never know when something's going to happen.
Well, that actually leads right into our next subject: how to spend the tax refund wisely and plan for the future. I agree with you. You get that tax refund, and it seems like Best Buy and all the other big box stores are like, hey, we got these TV sales, we got the laptop sale, we got they got the car sales and everything like that, which they do a good job advertising, but you really need to prioritize those dollars, especially in a time of a pandemic. So what I tell my clients once again is prioritize. Don't. I saw some ridiculous number that the stimulus check, over $500 million of it went towards unsecured creditors. In certain circumstances, that could be very good, but you also want to make sure that you have this emergency fund so that you don't find yourself being evicted or losing a vehicle that you need for your family.
I had one client. I says, how do you determine what your withholding is? He says, well, every year I know what the new iPhone is. So how I save my money I swear, what I save my money for is when the next iPhone comes out, I just take my refund, I cash the check, and I go ahead and contact Apple and get my next phone. So you never know. You don't know what you're going to hear, but we hear it all.
For sure. Well, I'm going to check out a couple other questions here, and then I have one more question that we'll go through. What is the phone number to check the federal student loans? 800-304-3107. Let's see what other questions that we have here. We got a bunch of questions. Thank you, guys. Can I file single and claim one of our two daughters if you're separated with your spouse? That's a question for you guys. That's out of my jurisdiction.
Well, answer it if you give me the helmet.
I'm not giving you my helmet though.
Yeah, I'm just reading the question.
Read it again, could you?
Yeah, Eric, can I file single and claim one of our two daughters if it sounds like they're married but they're separated?
Yeah, it probably would depend on who has custody of the kids, who's been paying over half the support for the kids. If you could substantiate that. I know the court documents sometimes will say that one parent can claim both children, but it really we don't really look at the court documents. We look to see who has paid over half the support for the child and who has had custody for the child more than half the year. So if you could substantiate that, yeah, you can claim probably at least one of your daughters, maybe both. It depends where they live for the year or during the year.
Those are the messiest cases, Chad, because if someone files first, IRS is going to honor the first file.
Oh,
and then
wow.
the second person gets screwed because now they're going to have to fight for IRS and spend hours getting that back. Those are, and they're small dollar cases, and really they keep tearing it. So, in the divorce decrees or the separation agreements, that's something that you got to nail down from the beginning.
All right.
Yep.
I can't believe we're already about 30 minutes in. So we're going to finish up with you guys. I want to make sure that the viewers have your contact information. So I'll put you on the main screen there, gentlemen. And if you have anything else that you want to wrap up with, but I want to say I really appreciate you guys taking the time. This honestly was felt like the fastest one, and it's ran one of the longest. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time and getting this helpful information out there.
Sure. Well, we really appreciate being asked. You've been on our program many times, so we have a wonderful relationship. And just anytime you can just contact us at 954-328-3501, 954-328-3501. Together, Herb and myself I know we look really young and stuff, but the two of us have probably ourselves maybe over 90 years of direct IRS.
And just like that, you froze, like oh, there you go.
I'm going to get the tanning salon that's fuller. I'm going to put on that superficial sunscreen so you think I've worked outside with you. But Chad, Herb and I both have really appreciated being on your thing. And people, we're happy to answer any questions for free. We're right on debut and commercial. So thank you again.
Awesome, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time. Look forward to having you on. If you have any IRS or tax questions, feel free to go to these guys. Both very, very professional. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Have a good one.
Yep. All right. So keep the questions coming. If you have any questions for Michael or Herb, I certainly will get you in touch with them. I want to thank everybody for joining. This was one of our busiest events with all the questions. So thank you for the questions. As you can see on the bottom, if you want an appointment with me, you can go to chadvh.com. You could go to our website, vanhornlawgroup.com. Call us at 954-637-0000. We're here nights, we're here mornings, we're here weekends. We just hired another attorney to help out with consultations who has experience doing that as well. He's helping me out so I can do more of these events for you guys. Also wrote 2 books, The Debt Life, which are stories about people dealing with everyday debt. If you go to thedebtlife.com or our website, you can get it there. Also, everything you need to know about bankruptcy in Florida. So you can check that out as well. Thanks again for joining me in this episode of The Debt Life. I hope these topics are helpful for you. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Thank you, guys.